My name is Charlie Banks, and I'm a 17-year-old kid who started the Young Minds Podcast to spread the Word of God. It is my goal to do this podcast. You learn, you laugh, you cry, whatever it may be. I just hope that you enjoy it and maybe grow in your relationship with Christ. But just remember, this thing that the Lord is starting is way bigger than any of us. So let's get after it. All right, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm so glad to have you on today. And you're actually the second person who's actually asked me to come on instead of the other way around.
Yeah, man.
So I am so excited to have you on today. But if you could introduce yourself, and then we'll just keep going.
Okay, cool. So I'm Elijah Alford from a small town, Ashburn, Georgia. It's like an hour north on the interstate.
Yeah.
Just a little bit about myself and like my testimony. I grew up, we were in and out of the church for the most part. Then fast forward to middle school, it was like two instances where I thought I was saved, right? So the first time I thought I was saved, and the second time I actually knew I was saved. So the first time it was like saved by fear kind of thing, where the preacher's just preaching. He's like, if you leave this church and you're not saved, you're going straight to hell. That kind of thing. You're scared.
Yeah.
But the second time it was more of a Jesus wants a relationship with you. He's seeking you. Then that was like a true understanding of what it meant to be saved. So that was my 7th grade year. So fast forward, high school, we're growing, we're moving. But I actually never got baptized. It was this year that I got baptized. Yep. Cool. I got baptized March the 4th.
Really? Went
back home to my home church, and my youth minister, he got baptized, and here we are now.
That's great.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, so, with you being growing up in another place, how in the world did you stumble across Northside?
Oh, that's a great question. So, these last 2 years, I was at ABAC in Tifton. It's about 40 minutes. Yeah. So I was doing ABAC and I graduated there, and I did a lot of good things there. But when I was at ABAC, I kind of had a selfish mentality, which kind of caused me to go away from God. So it was like, I'm thinking about what I want to do. I'm prioritizing myself. I'm doing a lot of good things, but they were like for self-gratification, not to advance the kingdom of God, So fast forward, I graduate, and then I'm down here. And my first year at VSU, I truly think that God He broke me down and humbled me so much to the point where I realized, like, I can't do this without God, that kind of thing. So it was just like, God, I'm here, I'm listening. Now I'm going to follow you. I'm sorry for not following you, but wherever you lead me, I'll go.
Yeah.
Maybe like 2 days later in class with Valencia, she's in our college group, and she's in the choir too.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Hey, you should come to church," because this is like late December-ish.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, okay," but the break came, and over the break I went home. But fast forward to January. This is the first Sunday in January, I believe, and this is. I finally decided I'll check out this church she was telling about, because she mentioned how good the choir is, how good the preacher is, and here we are, the first Sunday in January, and this is it's like Sing All Sing Day.
The Sing All Point.
Yeah, that day,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So I was there that day, and I'm like, wow, this is like a every Sunday kind of thing. I thought it was just like, this is like a special Sunday. Because the church was full, the choir was full. I'm like, man, coming from a small church, you don't see it all the time.
Right.
So I'm like, wow, I really like this. like this.
Yeah.
Then I hear Pastor Robbie preach. I'm like, wow, I really like this.
Yeah.
So here we are. And then after that morning service, Ayana introduced me to Pastor Jeff. And he was like, hey, we have an orchestra here too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, at the time I'm like, this is God telling me I need to get involved. Fast forward to that afternoon service. Here I am playing the saxophone in the orchestra in the afternoon. Then time keeps on rolling. Now I'm playing the piano in the college worship band.
That's
just
great.
Like,
yeah.
Man. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and I don't want to backtrack a little bit. How in the world did you figure out or hear about the podcast? Because we had not talked literally at all.
So it was
Daniel.
Daniel. Yeah, Daniel. Daniel shared. He shared that he was going to speak with you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Then I gave it a listen. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
D-Dog, yeah.
I
love Mr. D-Dog. Mm-hmm. And he's a great coworker too.
He is. He's a great guy.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen his whiteboard in his office, but I actually just wrote up there. I think I said something like, what did I say? I said like, love you, D-Dog, from your favorite coworker.
C-Dog?
Yeah, C-Dog. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And I just wrote it up there. Because in 11th grade, like my teachers and like a teacher would call me C-Dog. It was like, you know what? I took it. I was like, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, that was just a really funny thing. And that's cool that you saw it from him.
Yeah, man.
And he did a great job with his.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Yeah.
That was the first one I listened to.
Yeah. Well, good one to start with.
That's right.
Yeah. So what made you? You kind of talked about it, but can you go more in depth? Like, what made you want to join the choir? I mean, because of course, you see it and you're like, man, this is something I need to get involved with. But was there more to it other than
right.
that?
Well, so along the lines of wherever you lead me, God, I'll go.
Right.
Valencia, she invited me to the sing-on choir that day because this was my first day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is my first day here.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows me. I'll get in the choir. Why not?
Yeah. I can blend in.
I'll blend in. Nobody noticed me. So I did that, and then that was my first and only time singing in the choir. Because after that Sunday, I was in orchestra. All the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just along the lines of why not? Just do it.
Mm-hmm. And then you talked about it a little bit, but what instruments do you play?
Yeah. So saxophone is the primary.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at ABAC, they made us play. Not made us, but we're required to play piano as well. So I can do basic piano. Now I'm not a fancy piano player, but I can play the basics.
Yeah.
And then I'm also learning new instruments because I'm a music education major.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
And as a part of that, you have to learn new instruments in order to teach it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. And for the final question about about your time here at Northside, I have to just mention it because how did it feel to have that solo on that song?
Oh man.
I did name written down in glory because
Yeah,
what Pastor Jeff explained it to you was we want to have this idea to spice the song up, right?
Right.
And boy, did you kill it.
I don't know about kill it, but
you did a great job.
it was like I was actually really nervous for it.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it was different.
Yeah,
it was really different because I've never soloed like in a church setting, but also like with a choir or with
a congregation.
Like that was so much different because it's different when you have instrumentalists just playing some chords and you just play and you just noodle notes over it or whatever.
Right.
But it was also like my inner conflict was like I felt like I was taken away from worship, like I was like a spotlight or anything like that. But Pastor Jeff, he was like, hey, you're just worshiping God here. Like this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
You're adding to worship. You're not taking from worship.
Mm-hmm. And people were up on their feet. Remember? I mean, I don't know if you remember, but I'm sure you do. But I mean, it sounded so good.
It was really fun. I was glad that I was able to add to and not take away from worship.
I mean, it definitely did because that's not something. I mean, honestly, you don't hear saxophone all that much.
Yeah.
In traditional choirs, I don't think you do.
Right. Yeah.
And so I like how Pastor Jeff, he'll throw a curveball at you, and you're like, what in the world? Because I know
because I got up from the orchestra. And went to the choir. Yeah, it was really fun.
And just as like a preview, because I'm in planning center, I've seen what y'all are gonna do on the 30th, like with Victory Chant. I've heard what you're gonna do. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be so good.
It's fun.
Very exciting. Sorry, Pastor Jeff, is that was supposed to be like a big surprise? Whoops. But it's gonna be. I mean, all of your time, y'all do amazing. I mean, seriously.
That choir is great.
Mm-hmm.
And what's so good about that choir? It's like they're not singing for themselves.
No, and you can tell.
And you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell.
You definitely can.
You can really tell. So that's what I really admire about the choir here. Mm-hmm. It's just like, man, they really sing with passion.
They do. I mean, and there's ones. There's people specifically when they do the song at the end. When it's partly a solo or whatever.
Right.
It's like, man, those people can really sing.
Really
it
sing.
blows
Exactly.
you away.
Man. Right.
It's we got some talented people in this church.
Right.
You know?
Right. And it's just like everyday people. You know, it's not music specialists. You know, yeah.
I mean, and you know, one thing working here has taught me is like everything is intertwined in some shape or form. Like I was talking with somebody about that today. We were talking about how, you know, me and Noah, we make the graphics. Yeah. You know, and then I know I love him to pieces. And then we put them into the computer for Terry to make sure they run on the screen every Sunday. Right. And then, you know, of course, the lyrics and all that. That's put in for the choir. Yep. And then the sermon's put in for the congregation and for Pastor Robbie. Behind the scenes. And so it's like, you know, and people don't realize all that goes on. And of course, like with this cleaning and stuff, they're not going to, you know, it's not just for background. We just did a bunch of cleaning today for the renovation. People are not going to realize all that went down. They're just going to, they might go like, I bet you that took a lot of time to do. Oh, it did all right. It took a lot. You can tell. You know, so there's just a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people don't realize. Right. And it's like, until you start stepping into it, you know, it's just like, man, this is a lot of work, but it's so fun.
It also makes you appreciate it.
Oh, it does. Yeah, it really does. I mean, and plus I'm having a blast up here. Right. I mean, so, and I've told my mom this all the time. I'm like, I got better bosses than you. Yeah. You know? And she's like, oh, shush. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm just speaking the truth. I do. Great teacher. You know? Oh, yeah. You know, Noah's a great teacher for, you know, the graphics and stuff. Right. And then Pastor Jeff, he just loves to pour into me and everybody else. Right. You know? Right. And when Pastor Robbie's here, he does the same thing. Exactly. You know? So, they're great people. But, so now this is like the questions that I ask everybody. However, I get different answers every single time. Yeah. Which is amazing, you know? So, when you look at the youth today, do you see hope, or are you worried about our future?
So I think that's like subjective. Like, what do you choose to see? When I look at the youth today, I think about what am I doing to fix what I don't want to see. That's good. Yeah. So it's like, am I looking within myself first before I go, one, judging somebody else, or two, like trying to change something that, you know I can fix, whatever. Like in Sunday school the other day, Jay, he was like, we're responsible for this next generation. Yeah. It kind of blew over my head. It really did. But later on that day, I'm like, wow, our actions, what we do, if we reach out to these people, if like, I mean, because young people is like, I'm talking like I'm old or something, but like we as young people, it's just like, okay, everybody has a role model, right? But the question is that role model a positive role model or a negative role model? Right. So we are responsible for reaching out and, you know, mentoring. Just like people are mentoring to us, you got to keep it going. It's like a chain effect. Yeah. So.
And, you know, like, one example I can really think of that is, did you do VBS this year? Or did you, like...
I did it. But I've done it before back at home.
Yeah. Like, that's an example I can think of. Like, you know, those kids, they, like, really, you know, they're looking at you for guidance and what to do, at least during that time period.
And they will remember you.
They will. Oh, my gosh.
You will be surprised.
I've got a prime example of that. So, there was just one kid. He wasn't in my group. He was in Noah Jenkinson's group. But, you know, Noah was right in front of me. Yeah. And so we kind of tag teamed some of our kids, like we kind of watched each other and things like that. And there was this one kid named Will in his group. And, you know, for like the first day, I could not, for the life of me, get him to, like, get motivated. And, he would just, like, stare at me. Which, I know kids do that, but, like, it's a little weird, a little bit, because you're like, why are you staring at me? Because there's, like, lights and stuff going on in music. Right. And you're looking at me. And, you know... So, like, you know, as time progressed, because I told Noah, I was like, hey, you might want to just help him get a little motivated. And as time progressed, he started, like, really wanting to talk to me, like, when we get back to Sanctuary, you know, because we got back at the end, and we were there in the mornings. And so I was talking, like, by the end of the last day, he was like, I mean, he said something, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to make me, like, sob over here. He said, I'm really going to miss you, and, like, I hope I remember you. And I'm like, I'm sure you will. And I'm like, you want a picture or something? Yeah. And he said, sure. And throughout the entire day, he kept his eye on me to make sure I sent his mom that picture the other day. He was like, I want this picture, and he was determined. And I was like, that's never happened like this for me, like a kid wanting... me and him was, in a picture, and he was just wanting to remember me so bad.
And I'm very sure that he's going to remember that.
I hope so.
And then once you get older, this kid may be like taller than you. You're like, hey, do you remember from BBS? Like they do that all the time back at home. I'm like, yeah, I remember you.
It's
I don't remember their name, but I remember them.
Honestly, I probably will remember that kid just because, like, he was like one of the main ones I did speak with. It's just because he was like, once he got talking, he didn't stop.
Right. Yeah.
But he was a cute kid. Just like all of them.
Yeah, right.
But some of them, I had, oh my gosh, there was a couple in my group. I thought, so you usually think the guys are like the wild ones, right?
Yeah.
No, that wasn't the case. No, the girls were the wild ones in this case. And I was thinking, like, man, these girls are some wild ones. Because, thankfully, I had another person, except we were paired up. I'm so glad I was paired up, because if I wasn't, I don't know what I would have done. I would have lost it.
But, just like what we just said, you know, feeding back into the younger generation.
Yep.
It's like keeping it going. So
exactly.
It's great that you had the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, and 100%. And the fact that we had so many kids, I think it was like...
Exactly. It was a lot.
Almost 400, something like that. And we had over 175 volunteers, which is insane. They had to add more crews because we had so many volunteers. And I'm like, that's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And that picture, I don't know if you've seen the group picture of
all
of us, but
I did.
My little head's in there somewhere. You've got to zoom in.
Yep. But hey, D Now.
Oh yeah, D Now was great.
D Now was great.
Yeah, that was great.
Y'all seeing all y'all up there
singing,
on the choir. Oh, man, that was so refreshing.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite part about D Now too.
Yeah, man.
Was the singing part, because then you look at the picture later and you're like, we filled the entire stage up.
Y'all did.
Y'all
did.
Which was really shocking. Because you don't realize it.
And I really think that the congregation felt inspired seeing that too. Because like you just said, do you see hope or are you kind of worried about the future? Like, hey, I saw hope on that stage.
Yeah.
That's when I saw a bright future. So.
And we talk, me and my mom talk about it a lot. Is two people that when we are trying to think of like the word hope, we think of Pastor Robbie and Miss Laura. Like, because when I just see them, it's just like, you can just tell they exude, hope,
Oh, yeah.
And one thing that amazes me about, Northside in general is like, if you walked up to anybody, like this pastoral staff, whatever, they will take that time out and...
They will.
which is amazing. It's like, Pastor Robbie shakes over 900 hands every Sunday, but takes that time out for everybody.
And you remember your name, too. I was surprised when when you remember my name.
Right, well, I'll tell you this. He's gonna remember my name because once I meet somebody, I stick to them like glue. So like
That's it.
Yeah. But so now we're gonna go on to the next one. But so young people, we both do, now face a lot of challenges in this world, like with say social media, things like that, and things that I know my parents and probably yours as well say we didn't have to deal with that when we were growing up, because the technology wasn't around then.
Yeah.
And so what advice would you give to me and other young people that are finding it hard to navigate this world in a biblical way? Because it's difficult. It is.
Yeah, it is hard. I live by P's, right? So it was this joke we had. C's get degrees, right?
Yeah.
But one day we were just like, man, P's get degrees, right? So I consider 5 P's. So prayer, patience, persistence, practice, and peace. So those 5 P's are what I would tell any young person, anybody really, like you need those 5 P's. Because think about it. Okay, so prayer, right? So prayer would be that's your one streamline straight to God. That's how you maintain your relationship. Now I'm no relationship specialist, but if you have a relationship with somebody and you aren't talking all the time, is that relationship gonna work out? It's not. So prayer with God, that's essential.
And that's with any, like not just say like, guy and girl relationship. That's like, friendships, anything.
Any relationship, right? So your first P would be prayer. Second P, what? Patience, right? Yep. So nothing is going to come instantly. One of the biggest life lessons I've learned so far is that it's not life that shuts doors on you. It's God Himself who shuts doors on you. So, right. So when you're in the hallway, are you going to trust God or are you going to complain? Right? Because whatever is behind that door, it's like, okay, it either one is going to lead you to a life of sin, so He shut the door on you, or He's not ready for you to go through that door yet. Right? So things like that. And practice itself. Practice would be like learning how to minister to other people. Like, I mean, talk in the mirror, man. Right, talk in the mirror. Like, try to pretend like you're having a conversation with somebody.
Or one thing I've heard is, when you're doing something like that, whether it be like telling testimony or just talking, because people struggle with that sometimes, whatever it may be, if it's preaching and whatnot. Do it in front of like a friend that's a Christian.
Yep.
Because they're not going to make fun of you about it. They're just going to help you, and they might critique you, but it would be, just to help you.
And just doing it in general.
Yeah, also. Just do it. Yeah, exactly. Even this can strengthen, like even if people aren't looking at you, this can help you with, talking, because I'm gonna tell you right now, that first episode, I didn't start it over a bunch of times, and I probably should have, but I just kept on going.
That's okay. Your viewers they're gonna see the progress anyway. So.
And I know my mom's one of my biggest critiquers, but also she listens to every single one of them. She's like, you've improved tremendously on every single one.
That's good.
But yeah, that's one thing that I've had to learn too. Just you just keep going. I mean, even if you stutter over your words, just keep on going. Too.
Yep, and that's where persistence comes in, right? So learning how to keep on going and not stopping it's hard.
Yeah.
But but if you lean on those other P's, like prayer and patience, it'll get you through.
That was me today when I had to be persistent about getting those, because we had to move the whiteboards off the wall and into another room.
Right.
Dude, I didn't know whiteboards were so heavy.
Right.
Nobody's told me that, because I know they've always been up on the wall, so how would I know if they were heavy or not? Well, now I know. They're really heavy. And I had to be persistent about moving those whiteboards into another room, because I was just this is so difficult, because it was, because it gets hot up in the upstairs.
Right.
But I knew it had to get done, because they're not going to move anywhere.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I just had to be persistent about it, and that's how it is with life. You have to be. There's going to be things that are just going to be you just got to do it.
Right.
And keep on going with it.
Exactly. Keep on going.
Yep. Right. And for an example for you, I guess, if you had a tough song that you had to learn, to practice with, you just have to keep on and keep going.
That's right.
And aren't you doing something here in the near future, like with the piano? Aren't you playing here or something?
Yes. So college night, when we lead worship.
Yeah.
15th? Yeah, 15th. Or is it 16th? 15th, 16th? It's the Sunday of the 15th.
Yeah. I think it's the 15th.
Yeah, 15th. Okay.
But I heard Miss Sherry talking about it, and so I was like, huh? What?
Well, I wish I was as good as she, but but it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
We're gonna work out some practices coming up soon, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll have to come to that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I've been trying to see if I can come to some more of the July ones, in the summer, because it's easier to come to the night services during the summer than it is at school.
It is.
Time, because
I get that.
School time's crazy.
It is.
But for my final question for you, I might have skipped over one, so I might have to come back to it. Why do you think people, especially young people, when they often run away when they hear the name Jesus, it's just like a reflex. They just say, you say, hey, can I talk to you about the gospel? Can I tell you about this man named Jesus? And they're just like, nope, done. Why do you think that?
So I think people know at least the basics of what it means to be a Christian, right? So most people know that you have to change your ways.
Right.
You can't do what you want to do anymore, because there's so many definitions of sin, right? Sin is simply choosing your way over God's way. So the moment that you realize I can't do my way anymore, it either leads to one, you don't want to do it, or you're scared about it. So that's one of the main things, I think.
Yeah.
And then also peer pressure, as always. It's just when people start. I remember back in middle school, I was thinking oh Jesus, what, you go to church and stuff like that?
Yeah.
My friend trying to intimidate me, saying things like that. So, but that's always.
And that's never something that I want to do. It's I want to help you understand it, not pressure you. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to do you any good if you're pressured into it.
Right, exactly. And one thing that doesn't help is just how society sees Christians as these hateful people who bash other it's not.
No,
it's not.
But we also have to tell the truth. We see it.
That's right.
It is in God's word.
And that's one thing I admire about Pastor Robbie.
I was about to bring that up.
That man does not sugarcoat.
No, I mean I'm thinking about this past sermon.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Exactly.
Did not hold back, which I'm glad he did. I'm glad he didn't.
But I mean, like, I don't think he was rude about it.
No.
I don't think he was disrespectful about it. He said it, do it, because, I mean, you can look at it so many different ways, but does God sugarcoat it? Yeah, nope. He doesn't. And the Bible is pretty direct about those kind of things, so it's just like...
But I mean, unfortunately, there's going to be people, regardless if you're just even talking on the subject, and you're talking about it in some sort of way, they're just like, no. But I'm thankful that, he hasn't, gotten hurt or anything like that. Because I know that's happened to some preachers, and it's like, thank the Lord that, he has his hand over this church and to Pastor Robbie, because that would be, I would hate that, and I know everybody else would. But he was on fire.
Right, yeah, he was.
It was the 10:30 service.
Yeah.
He really was. And I don't know if I asked you, but I'll ask it again if I did. What was so at the time you've been here at Northside, what's been your favorite part?
Oh goodness, that's a great question. I would say just remembering how it feels to grow as a Christian. Because I would say I've experienced some of the most growth that I have in my Christian journey here at Northside. Not saying that I didn't experience growth everywhere else,
right?
But to constantly be surrounded by good Christian people who have good Christian beliefs, morals, and they live it. They walk the walk. They talk the talk. Being around that all the time has been very refreshing.
Yeah.
And because if we look at last semester. I wasn't going to church last semester.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't going to church last semester. I was just taking classes. I was working. I was doing marching band. Go home, go to sleep, repeat it, right? So, but that was when I was still in that kind of self-centered, selfish mentality. But now it's like I feel better. I think I look better than I did last semester.
Yeah.
That'll
happen.
Grades are better. Overall, mental health, everything is better than it was last semester. But I'm in church. I'm surrounded by good people, and that's that's referring to your question about advice I would give to somebody, to a young person, just surround yourself around good people. Because
100%.
I mean,
that's one thing that I will say that I've noticed that because we are part of the same generation. If I had to,
we are.
I just don't know how big the generation gaps are.
That's right.
But
same.
That's what our generation struggles with is at least when even, and that can start even in elementary school.
Absolutely.
And of course as little kids we don't know that.
Yep.
But even now I've realized there's probably a friend or two that I had in elementary that I've still kind of somewhat kept up with,
That's right.
but I don't talk to them as much anymore. Not because I don't want to, but just because one, it's kind of I've put it kind of mentally draining on myself, and you can't have that,
Right.
it's rough. And two, it's just not good for you.
Right.
Right. But that's why I love coming here so much, because there's so many people you can talk to and relate to.
So many.
I can't even name them all.
And I've been challenged, to be a better Christian too. Another thing of advice I would say is get you an accountability partner.
That's a good one.
Daniel's a good one.
Yeah.
Man, he holds me accountable, and I hold him accountable too. Because especially as musicians, hey man, are you ready for Sunday? Did you practice? Things like that.
Yeah.
But, and so for people who don't have an accountability partner, first of all, get one, right?
Yeah.
And second of all, if you don't have one, think along the lines of, would I do this in front of my pastor? Would I do this in front of my parents? Would I do this in front of Jesus? It's like a checklist, you can say. Because it may seem like it's just nothing, but it could be just nothing in the moment, but it's going to lead to something else. As always, right?
Right.
So,
and that's three important things you got to, those three things right there are really important.
Right.
And that's not something I've really thought about too much, but of course it's in the back of your mind, but you're
right. And especially saying things, right?
When you get them out, it's
exactly.
Oh gosh.
It's if you won't do it in front of them, you probably shouldn't do it. So.
I'll tell you one thing too, when you first tell somebody about what you're dealing with or what you've been doing, whatever, it's it's like that, that boulder's been lifted off your shoulders.
That's right, yeah.
And,
right.
That was how it was for me when I told somebody. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better.
Right.
And, come to find out, they had similar problems.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh my gosh, look what the Lord just has done.
Right.
And we had not told each other nothing, or whatever. And then, bam,
Yeah.
And it's just, and then we started talking through it. And then a couple weeks later, I got saved and baptized. So.
Love to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the topic of testimonies, it's like, man, don't be, scared to share your testimony.
No,
right?
I mean, and even the one, because I've had people, they'll talk to me and they'll say, I don't have as much of a story as so and so because I just grew up in church.
Right. Right.
So I don't care.
Right.
That sounds kind of rude, but I don't care if you just grew up in church. You know what? That story can help somebody.
Right.
It's that might give somebody hope, saying, "Oh my gosh, there's kids that still actually grow up in church."
Right.
Because they may be in a place where they don't see kids going to church anymore.
That's right.
So
some people have some powerful testimonies.
They do.
I listened to your interview with this Tina.
Oh my gosh,
man.
yes. Hers is.
Man.
She came prepared too.
Wow.
Yeah. Hers is really, really good. I know Miss Hannah's is also really good.
Yep.
There's plenty of them that are really good. And I know Pastor Robbie's, when he gave his, because I know the subject he's going to be preaching on, he's going to be talking about, compromising with God, And that's one thing that in his testimony that really sticks out is, it's kind of funny now, but, because when you think about the position he's in.
Right.
But, he tried to, he didn't think he was going to be a pastor.
Right.
So what does he do?
Yeah.
He goes and compromises and becomes a worship pastor. So he's still working in the church.
Right.
But, he's not a pastor. And I thought that was so funny, of course at the time, when he told me, I was like, that's, he can sing.
Yeah.
So, but that's
yes, that was my first time hearing him singing.
Really?
Was it last?
With Pastor Jeff and
when
the
they
duet?
did the duet. Yeah, that was great.
Actually, online, one time, because I think, I don't remember what it was, but I listened to him, he was singing Amazing Grace. And I think it was by accident. I think his mic was shut on, but I don't care because it sounded amazing.
Right.
He did a great job. But so whether he knew it or not, he sounded great.
That's right.
But yeah, I've enjoyed every minute of seeing the choir and all the ins and outs of the church and people telling me their stories and stuff. And they're all so different too. None of them are the same. They might have similar parts to them.
And that's good,
But none of them
it's good that they're not the same, because one thing I can say is try to, when people share about their mistakes, soak it in like a sponge.
Oh yeah, I'll say one thing one episode that really sticks out to me is, I don't know, this is from before, this is one of the episodes before we hit the 10th episode, so this was a long time ago, was Mikey Gibbons' episode. I don't know if you've met him yet. If you haven't, I would go and meet him and then listen to his episode. One thing that he talked about was, working with all of your heart. I think it's Corinthians 3, somewhere around there.
Right.
But it talks about working with all your heartily and whatever all you do, and put your heart in everything that you do. And that's just one thing that's stuck with me and my mom. About whether it be doing a job or school, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's simple, it's when people think that's it can be a hard thing for some. Depending on what you're trying to do, that's hard, but that's just one lesson that stuck with me. And there's, like you said, there's so many stories that are different, and they'll stick with people.
That's right.
And another great thing too, is we don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if you've heard me talk about some places.
Yeah.
And it's we don't know the full effect this is going to have until we're all in heaven, all the people that it's gone to.
That's right.
And
that's what's so good about it.
Oh, yes.
So many different people can see it, and they can share it.
It's wonderful.
It's great.
And how many people are in this church? And I remember I actually was asking somebody, it was a while back, I said, sir, how do you get to the sanctuary from here? He said, you just turn this way, and he's like, he heard my voice, and he's like, are you the guy that does the podcast? And I'm like, yes, sir, I am. He just recognized my voice.
Yeah, man.
And it's oh my gosh, how many people know? Because my audience, the age ranges really dispersed once Pastor Robbie's came out.
Yeah.
Because this was the first one that I did here, at Northside.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I did Mikey's before, but Pastor Robbie's, of course, was the one that kicked it off. And So now people are like, oh my gosh, I love your episodes, or they'll come up to me and be like, I love that episode.
Yeah, that's great. That's
and
great.
I know people are going to love this one.
Well, I hope I can, get a good message out.
Oh, you will, and you have. So, and I'm really excited to see what the Lord does with it, because He's done amazing things with all of them. I didn't expect.
Amen. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I'm glad you're doing it. It's because, on the topic of looking for hope in young people, that's why I wanted to come on. It's like, hey man, he's out here doing great things.
And I'm so glad that you reached out to me. And if there's people that are in this church right now that are listening, you can reach out to me. Just Facebook, there's an email. I think it's like the Young Minds Podcast 1720@gmail.com. If you want to reach out to me and do an episode, you give me a little bit of background. If I don't know you, give me a little bit of background, and then we'll set it up. But I'm so glad that you reached out to me.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
I know the Lord's going to use this in an awesome way. But if you got any final thoughts or anything that you might want to say?
Yeah, are you thinking college yet, or?
Well, I'm thinking maybe like Wiregrass, something like that.
Okay, cool.
Because of the fact that Wiregrass, you can kind of jump into what you want to do.
That's right.
Yeah. And plus, the way it sounds like is when I get, as long as I get my license soon, I have a job.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I really want to focus on that, because once you're in, you are in.
That's right. That's right.
So, yeah, that's definitely something that I've been thinking about. For sure.
Yeah.
But I've just been loving every minute.
I guess since I've been in college for almost 4 years, which is crazy.
Good Lord, really?
Man, yeah. I'm hopefully graduating next spring.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed.
You got this.
I have to take a heavy workload in the
Come on.
21 hours. But
Woo!
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But
that is tough.
That's where patience and persistence comes in. But, my advice would be to a person of our age, your age, whatever, going to college, especially if you're going out of town, so you're moving to a different location. I'm in Bed Austin, so I'm not home anymore. Whatever school you consider, you need to look for good churches in the area.
Mm-hmm. That can be difficult.
Or make sure that your college has some kind of BCM or some kind of Christian organization on campus and stuff like that. So, because you can go to a great school, but if you go to a great school that doesn't have a good Christian community, are you going to grow? Things like that.
You may get sucked into what they're teaching.
Exactly, right.
And they know that you're impressionable.
Right.
Right.
So just little things like that. Well, not little, but things to consider.
Mm-hmm. And I'll probably talk about more about that with them. Were you did you see the college prep class or did you hear about that at all? I don't know if you did. So Miles Hannon, do you know who that is?
I don't.
He
still have a lot of people to learn.
You do. So Miles Hannon, I guess he's he don't really advertise it much, but he's the head of the men's ministry, and he came in for the high school and did a 2-day, it was a 2 Wednesday night thing. It was one Wednesday he did this, and then the next he did the next part, and it was for a college prep class, to tell us the warning signs of what you're gonna expect.
What was the biggest thing you took away from it?
I would say because they had each of the life group leaders, answer questions.
Yeah.
Probably the most prominent thing that I just find interesting that there was the most discussion about was the whole relationship stuff. When you have an example was what if so happens there's a kid gets involved of some sort, and it just happens. What do you do there? There was a lot of discussion, and I just thought it was interesting, to make some I'm not having even. Of course I know what happens. But in my brain, am I thinking about it? No.
Right.
And so to really, sit there and think about all those things, and of course just all the stuff they try to push on you and things like that.
That's right.
And being careful about that.
Yeah.
Like you said, it can be a great school, but do they have a good Christian built foundation?
That's right.
And even now, the schools that have, that say Christian in the name, you got to be careful about those too.
That's right.
And sometimes those are even worse than just your normal, schools.
And even if you are at a university that's not that strong of a Christian community, that's where having a good group of, tight-knit friends where they can hold you accountable.
And who knows, maybe you can make a community out of it.
Exactly.
Maybe God put you there so you can make a BCM or whatever.
Right.
You don't know.
That's right.
Right? Because I know that, like, one thing, and there was nothing that stuck out, was he talked about, I think it was maybe at UGA or Georgia Tech maybe.
Yep.
They talked about there are prayer rooms, but they're not for Christians. They're for Muslims. And I was like, what? That's crazy.
It's very interesting.
Like, and I'm like, I don't remember where it was he said, but I was just like, so there are prayer rooms, but they won't allow, I think it might have been when Nathan Faircloth went up to college. You know, that happened because he went and taught with Miles.
Right.
You know, he was like, there's prayer rooms, but they were for Muslims, because he went to go do Bible study. And they said, you can't use those.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy. You know, those are there, but not everybody can use them.
That's right.
And it just blew my mind. I was like, that's something I didn't remember, you know, because you don't hear that.
Yeah, you don't.
You know?
You don't.
And you know what's crazy to me is that some of the stuff is now even seeping into high school, middle school, and somewhat elementary.
Yep.
And kids don't know what to watch out for.
And
I'll tell you, I had one scenario that something like that happened, like it was like something that was just weird, you know, that I knew that shouldn't have been taught, and because I knew a school board member and I knew he wouldn't approve of it, you know. And so we sent it up there to the school board and said, can you look at this? And they were like, yeah, we don't teach that.
Right.
See, that was just one instance where I knew what to look for, but not every other kid's going to.
And you have to be rooted in the Word.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a strong tree. You know,
do.
A strong tree that's rooted when winds and all these lies and rumors and things start blowing at you, you're going to be rooted. You're not
Think about, I don't know why, but I always think about it. So like, you know, like when you see a scene in a movie when maybe a character puts like their headphones on and they're just walking, right? Then behind them there's all this chaos going on. That's exactly how it should be.
Exactly.
Right? You know?
Man.
And that's, you know, and I mean there's a lot that can go on in your life, but you just gotta be trusting God in it.
Yeah, man.
But I'm so glad that you came on. I'm so glad that you reached out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And who knows, you know, the Lord may put us together again. I don't know.
We'll see.
Might do have to do a college episode with D-Dog.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be really cool.
Just put you together.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
That might be chaotic, but hey, it'd be great chaos, right?
Yep.
But I'm so glad you came on, and well, I guess I'll be seeing you in the orchestra, huh?
Yeah, man. I want to challenge some friends to do this too.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, let's Jay, who teaches our college life group.
Yeah.
Let's say Jeff Lay.
Jeff, I've talked to him like once or twice.
Ayana McKee.
Ayana,
Let's see Sanchez.
Yeah.
Sanchez.
Josh. Yeah.
And what's one more good person that I think? Noah Jenkins.
He's already done it.
Oh, he has?
His is just not come out yet.
Ah, that's why. That's great.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's 4 people that I challenge to do this.
But yeah, come on. I know a few of them already. Come on, Iona. I just wonder if you will. Come on.
You're right.
Uh-huh. So, but yeah, who knows if they respond.
Hopefully, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
This has been great, and I've enjoyed every second of it. So, thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Yeah. And with that, another episode of the Young Minds Podcast comes to a close. Always remember, you are never alone, and faith is action. So let's get out there.